Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today we're gonna take a look at Playtika Holding Corp.
Okay.
You shared some information on this company, and I really just want to try and understand what's happening with this stock.
Yeah.
We've got some perspectives from analysts. We're gonna look at the technical indicators and kind of get a general overview of the company.
Right.
So let's get started.
Yeah, the first thing that really jumps out is the current price.
Yeah.
At $4.01, it's experienced quite a significant downturn recently.
Wow.
You see a 10.29% fall in the past 24 hours and an 8.24% decrease just on the last trading day.
Uh-huh.
Those are some pretty big moves.
Yeah.
And when you look at the 52-week range, it's been between $3.97 and $9.16.
Right.
So this really puts it near the bottom of that range.
Yeah, it's practically at its 52-week low. So
Yeah.
when you see a stock make a move like that, it really makes you wonder what the experts are saying. What are the analysts thinking about Playtika?
Well, it's kind of a mixed bag right now. From 8 research firms, the general consensus is a hold.
Okay.
But there are 2 firms that are still calling it a buy.
Mm-hmm.
The average one-year price target is $8.32.
Okay.
But I think what's interesting is that we've seen some recent adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Robert W. Baird and Macquarie both lowered their price targets to $6, and then you have Citigroup dropping from $10 down to $9.
Right.
So these downward revisions are probably contributing to that price pressure we're seeing.
Yeah, so it seems like there was some optimism out there, but now some of these firms are getting a little bit more cautious. They're kind of adjusting their expectations down,
Yeah.
Does this kind of shift typically align with what institutional investors are doing? What's the situation with institutional activity and the company's dividend?
So right now, institutions own about 11.94% of Playtika's stock.
Okay.
We have seen some increases recently.
Mm.
The Manufacturers Life Insurance Company and Arrow Street Capital Limited Partnership have both upped their holdings,
Okay.
right? And then for those of you who are, really focused on income, Playtika offers a pretty significant dividend yield, 9.98% with a quarterly dividend of $0.10.
Okay.
So that's a very high yield, especially when you consider where the price is at right now.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That high dividend can be really tempting,
Right.
but you really have to wonder about its sustainability.
Yeah.
Especially when you see the stock price falling like this, it
Right.
really makes you want to look a little bit closer at the company's financial health. So what can you tell us about Playtika's key financial metrics?
Okay, so Playtika has a market cap of $1.51 billion.
Right.
The price-to-earnings ratio, or PE, is 6.91.
Okay.
And just for context, that PE ratio basically tells us how much investors are willing to pay for every dollar of the company's earnings.
Right.
Their PE to growth ratio, or PEG, is 1.69.
Okay.
And the stock's beta is 0.98. Beta basically measures how volatile a stock is compared to the overall market. So a beta close to 1 means that it tends to kind of move up and down with the market,
Yeah, so even though we've seen this big drop recently, it seems like overall it's not drastically more volatile than the rest of the market.
Right.
Let's shift gears a little bit now and look at what the market itself is saying. What's the technical picture telling us about this recent price action?
Well, the recent price movements are definitely confirming a short-term bearish trend.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, the stock recently hit a new 52-week low.
Right.
And what's interesting is that these declines have come with high trading volume, which a lot of times means that there's significant selling pressure.
Huh.
And on top of that, the current price is below both its 50-day moving average, which is at $6.39.
Right.
And the 200-day moving average, which sits at $7.27.
Oh, okay.
So technical analysis, when a stock is below these key moving averages, it usually means that the downward momentum is going to continue.
I see.
It suggests that the trend is still bearish. We don't have the exact RSI number here. Given this big price drop, it's very likely that the stock is in oversold territory.
So when you say it's an oversold territory, does that mean there's a chance the price could bounce back in the short term?
It's definitely possible. When a stock gets oversold like that based on the RSI, it could mean that the selling pressure is letting up a little.
Oh, okay.
And that could lead to a little bit of a price recovery in the short term.
Got it.
But it's really important to keep in mind that being oversold doesn't automatically mean the overall trend is going to change.
Right. It doesn't mean the bigger picture is different. It's just a possibility of a small bounce.
Exactly.
Let's zoom out a little bit and talk about the company's actual business.
Okay.
What does Playtika do, and what can you tell us about their overall financial health?
So Playtikas, they develop mobile games and their main focus is on casual and social casino games.
Okay.
In the past 12 months, they've made $2.55 billion in revenue
All right.
and $162.20 million in earnings.
Wow.
They've got some pretty strong gross margins at 72.85%
Yeah.
and a net profit margin of 6.36%. But there's one number that's kind of a red flag. Their debt-to-equity ratio is reported as negative 830.7%.
Whoa. That's a huge negative number. I mean, usually you see debt-to-equity ratios as positive numbers, right?
Right.
Showing how much debt the company's using compared to the value of its equity. So a number like that, it's pretty unusual, and it definitely means they've got a ton of debt.
Yeah, it's a lot of debt.
That's definitely something investors are going to want to look into more closely.
Uh-huh.
So let's step back and look at the bigger picture now. What's the gaming industry looking like in general? And are there any opportunities that Playtika might be in a good position to take advantage of?
So the mobile gaming industry is super competitive.
Yeah.
You know, there's always pressure to make new games and keep players engaged.
Right.
But Playtika's strategy of focusing on live game operations and building their own technology platform,
Yeah.
that could give them an edge.
Okay.
And even though the stock has been volatile, their beta being close to 1 means it's not super volatile compared to other gaming companies.
Right.
And we talked about that attractive dividend yield earlier. And they also have potential for growth with popular games like Disney Solitaire.
Mm.
But some analysts are saying that the stock might be overpriced right now
Okay.
compared to its real value.
Yeah.
And that could definitely affect how investors feel about it.
So let's put it all together for our listeners. What are the main takeaways from all of this when it comes to Playtika?
So you're looking at a company with a really high dividend yield.
Yeah.
And most analysts are saying hold for now.
Okay.
But the price has dropped a lot recently.
Right.
And analysts are lowering their price targets.
Mm-hmm.
The technicals are showing a bearish trend too.
Okay.
Although it could bounce back a bit in the short term since it's oversold.
Right.
Financially, they're making money and they've got good margins. But they've also got a lot of debt.
Yeah, that's the big question mark.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mixed bag for investors.
It is a really interesting situation. There's potential for income, especially if you're okay with some ups and downs. But there's definitely risk because of that debt level. So it's something to really think about carefully.
Definitely.
Well, that gives you a really good overview of what's going on with Playtika right now. We covered the stock performance, what the analysts are saying, the technical indicators, and the company's financials.
Yeah.
Hopefully this has helped to break it all down and make it easier to understand. If you found this helpful and you want us to explore other companies or topics in the future, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. And let us know what you think about Playtika's dividend yield in light of the recent price drop and that high debt level. It's definitely something to consider. Thanks for listening.